So quick introduction. We've been doing this for almost 6 to 8 weeks now. I used to do it in the past. For actually 2 years or 3 years ago, I used to do live sessions, but unfortunately didn't have JP as a co-host. But now he's on, so the sessions are a lot much better. But the reason we do this is because you have two great perspectives you can always look at, and you got experience. With me, you got almost 11 years of trading experience. I'm more of a technical analysis guy. I love trading options, and I'm into price action, right? That's me. I'm more of a chart guy. Love reading technical analysis. JP over here has even more experience than me. One of the few guys I've met on Discord that actually has more experience than I. So he has over 20 years. He loves trading shares. He trades option swings as well, but his main you could say his main talent or his main skill set is in fundamental analysis. So you have the fundamental analysis and the technical analysis approach for these Saturday tickers or whatever you want to call it, the live sessions we have here. So it's just free education. I've always hated how I grew up trading without having any influences or looking at YouTube videos because it wasn't really that popular for trading YouTube videos. 11 years ago, it was more like courses that you had to buy, and I wasn't going to spend money on that. But I read books. I had observations. JP here had his own journey with a mentor, and he had a lot more experience than I do. And we both realized that a lot of the education out there is either untrue, too simplified, or just not true, so or just not even talked about. So we're here to bring the education to you guys because in the end, trading can be something that you can really do well with if you put the time into it, and you look at the things you're supposed to look at. So I'll make this very quick. The topics we're going to talk about today is the usual. We start off with Saturday tickers, where we go over to the stocks we're looking at and you guys want us to look at. That will be around an hour or so, and then we're going to move on to the two important topics that you guys actually want to talk about, which is how to find swings. So we'll go over what we exactly look at and what I guess you could say parameters or criteria we look at for stocks and what we look at to swing. And then, the thing that kind of ties into that is, how do we pick our contracts, for a swing primarily. So that's what we're going to go over today. And then, if we have questions afterwards, we'll definitely answer that. So right now, you guys can see we have the main chat. I would highly ask you guys to message in the main chat, whether it be stocks you want us to look at or questions, just because it's a little bit easier for us to, look at one place instead of, the stages chat, the live ideas chat, and the main chat. So just keep it to the main chat itself. But yeah, so before we get started on the stocks we want to look at or we are looking at, I want to ask JP here. So tell us about what happened this past week. Anything important? Anything we need to look for next week, and so on.
Hi everyone. Thanks for being here. Let's just dive right into it so we can get through with the economic data. Last week was an interesting week for a lot of information that was being put on print, which we were expecting to affect the stock market in a much more drastic way than it did. Let's start and skip right to what everybody was waiting for, which was CPI. CPI was on Wednesday, December 11th. We were expecting a read of core month over month to come in at 0.3%. It came in line. CPI month over month also came in line, and year over year also came in line at 2.7%. The 10-year bond auction also happened on Wednesday. 10-year bond auction came pretty much in line. Nothing crazy happened. The 10-year, it was the last 10-year bond auction of the year. So it was pretty interesting to see that it was, as I like to say, it kind of flatlined. Nothing spectacular there. It was nice to see CPI come in line. It didn't come in hot. So that's good. On the 12th, we did have a lot of data. We did have PPI, and core PPI came in line at 0.2%, but PPI month over month came in hot with 0.2% higher than we were expecting at 0.4%. And of course, the number that we all wanted was unemployment claims. We were expecting 221,000. It came in at 242,000. Excuse me. Um, that's a big miss on unemployment claims. It's showing that there are a lot of more people um, that are just losing jobs. And you would expect that not to be the case going into, excuse me, the holidays, because you would have, part-time employment, which does click into these unemployment claims, but it doesn't seem to be the case. I'm actually going to sit here and tell you that I don't live very far from a very popular mall. And normally this time of year, you would see a lot more employees at Bloomingdale's, Nordstrom, and Macy's. And to be honest, I don't see an overwhelming amount of seasonal workers. So it's kind of an interesting situation, to say the least. I don't know if maybe they're going to start working this week, but when it comes to staff, it actually looks light. So I think that that number that everybody thought was going to come in lower than expected, this high number is reflective of what's really happening from employers. They're trying to save money by not hiring more staff. Also, just from personal experiences, I can tell you that there's a lot of companies that are putting jobs or listing opportunities, and if you apply for them, you get a response sometimes 2 to 3 weeks later saying that that company, XYZ company, has decided to not fill the position due to company changes. So I think that we're going to start to see this unemployment number tick up, and I think that we're going to start to see these unemployment claims go higher. On Friday, we did not have any major news. So the two most important things that we were looking at were CPI, PPI, and the 10-year bond auction, actually, and obviously unemployment claims. Those are 4 or 5 things that we were looking at. Going into next week, it's going to be an interesting week, more so because we're expecting a Santa Claus rally. We do have flash PMI like we always do on Monday. December the 16th, moving on to December 17th, we do have retail sales, which is something that a lot of people want to keep an eye on. We do want to see if core retail and retail sales are up month over month. It's going to be interesting if for some reason they are down, because that's going to show that there isn't much spending happening. We do have the FOMC statement on Wednesday, December the 18th. So mark that on your calendar. Very important. We're going to figure out what's going to happen with these rate cuts. We also do have crude oil inventories at 10:30 on that Wednesday, but of course, everyone's going to be waiting for FOMC. Thursday, we have unemployment claims once again, something that we're going to be watching. And of course, December 20th, we have personal income, which I'm going to keep an eye on. And my favorite indicator of all, which is, of course, consumer confidence. I'm sorry, the University of Michigan consumer sentiment. Obviously, I think it's going to be an interesting week. It's either going to be the Santa Claus rally is going to begin, and regardless of whatever the FOMC statement is, the market will rally. I believe that everyone's expecting a 25 point basis, 25 point basis point rate cut. So maybe that's already cooked into the market. So let's see what happens. But normally this is the time of the year in December where things start to go. So that's pretty much it. Just, remember, we're going into heavy data, FOMC, protect your capital. That's it.
One thing before we move on, JP, you did not mention the AVGO earnings. So tell us a little bit about the impact and what exactly was reported, very briefly.
Um, I would love to talk about that once we put a chart on the board. So
Okay,
let's just get through with the economic data and then we move on to the tickers, because AVGO was, I mean, I don't want to talk about AVGO. I had the $200 calls, so
So,
and I
okay,
didn't take them.
before we do move
But
on, I'm so
yeah,
sorry. Are you guys able to see my screen? If not, we'll just move this over to the usual place. You guys can see it? Can't, okay, all right. No,
can't see.
all right, just I'm gonna pause it. I'll just move it over. It just doesn't full size. Yeah, that's useless if it doesn't full size. I'll move us over to the what's it called?
Yeah, so we just got through the economic data, and then of course here we go. I mean, not surprising at all. Not surprising at all. Um, AVGO came in with what was, in my opinion, one of the best earnings reports that we have ever seen. They did miss on revenue. Um, However, the miss on revenue what um wasn't as shocking to the market because they are improving so much in every single sector inside of that company. Everything they were doing was up double digits. I mean, it was one of the most incredible um, um, signs to the market that software, right? Software solutions is is the wave of the future. Um, as we all know, what's happening is, you see things like AMD, Intel, NVIDIA all going down because we're having, the whole AI craze and that phenomenon has kind of cooled off. But what we're having, one of the major things that if you really read into it, is we're having hardware issues. And the hardware issues that we're having are stemming from overheating, right? Like, shocker. Like the processors are so powerful that they are not able to find a way to cool them down quick enough. And if any of you have laptops and if you look at them, you'll see like an AMD chip or an NVIDIA chip or like a GeForce chip, whatever it is, put it on your lap or put it on a table and watch how quickly they start overheating. Your fans can't keep up with it. So I think that everything that's going to be software related um, is going to just be the new craze, right? Are we going to move into a situation now where virtual computing is going to be the new wave? I think it is. Um, stuff like, and I hate to say, but like anything software related, Palantir software related, Unity's down, but software related. Um, Give me something else that's software related off the top of my head. I can't. Avgo, obviously, software solutions. Um, I think this is going to be the new thing. The fact that we had such a critical break above 200 and we're trading at 224 just goes to show you that, you know, when they want something to go, it goes. um, I can give you the entire, breakdown of what the financials were, but let's just keep it
Yeah,
simple.
keep it very simple.
I'll keep it very simple. They're making money. Even though they missed on revenue, they missed on what's it called?
On revenue, right?
They missed on revenue. It was a slight miss. Um, this is not going to stop. Software solutions, anything software, people want it, people need it, and I think that everything that's going to be cloud computing and anything related to that is going to be the next wave. It's going to be the new AI, in my opinion.
Yeah, the funny part was, on my long-term account, I got shares, right? Because I was talking about this setup. I'm not sure if with you guys, if I posted, calls or something like that that got in with AVGO, but I did get in shares on Friday, November, when is this, 29th, because, AVGO is one of those stocks that's just like, JSP's been talking, sorry. It's a good stock, it's a good company, and the price on this is pretty good, right? Like, it's a really good swing stock, day trading, maybe not so much, it's okay, but swing trading, it's a really great stock. And currently I have a fill. It was somewhere between 160 and 162. somewhere around that range. And we're already hitting, all-time highs, of course, for AVGO. So, the next question is, okay, what do you do from here? And is it worth chasing? No, nothing's worth really chasing, right? And there's always going to be some kind of pullback, and there's always going to be a better entry. So, from this, you kind of want to see if AVGO kind of reacts, right? We did hit a fib extension level, and so it's just better to be in the patient game. For those who have long term, if I wasn't already in this, I'm not gonna be trying to force something that I could just wait to get into, right? And hey, if it ends up rallying and just pushing up and I miss out on it, that's fine. There's thousands of stocks out there. So AVGO, really great company. I know like people who took the AVGO earnings call, like if they took the 200s, 205s, they went up like 800 to one, almost like 1,500%. So I know a lot of people took that. So congrats if you guys did. But yeah, as JP said, great company. But we're gonna move on to the stocks that we're both looking at, and then we're gonna look at the stocks that.
I want to add something really quick. I don't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, no worries.
You know, the one thing that they kept talking about was this, like, man, I'm just going off the top of my head. So if someone can correct me if I'm wrong, I please go ahead and do that. They kept bringing up this because I listened to the earnings call, right? They kept bringing up this like AI XPUs. I don't know what XPUs are, but that was like when the moment they said that, it just went nuts, right? The stock just started going nuts because I know that they were talking about like these AI solutions and all this stuff, and you know, they make chips. They do make chips, but it's like it's the only chip maker theoretically, right? That's looking to expand into software solutions. Like AMD isn't talking about this stuff. NVIDIA isn't talking about this stuff, right? And I mean, call me an old fart, even though I'm incredibly handsome. Like what is this XPU stuff? Why did suddenly the minute they said that it went bonkers? Do I have to start looking into companies that are involved in XPUs? Like whatever the hell that is. Uh,
Well, the sad part is I'm Indian, but I unfortunately can't give you any tech support on that. I don't got the answer for what XPUs mean.
I don't,
Um,
I don't, I don't know either. I don't get it either. I don't know
yeah,
what it is.
I
What
mean,
are
if you
XPUs?
guys
Does
know it, you
anybody
could put it in
know?
the main chat because
Yeah.
JP and I are.
AI XPUs. You know
But
what
yeah,
I mean?
but yeah. So we'll move on to the stocks that JP and I were looking at. Um, so JP, what are the stuff you're looking at? This past
Well,
week.
there's a couple of things that I went ahead and I took your advice and I made my most traded watch list.
Uh huh.
Because I have a couple of different watch lists. I have the
Yeah.
my master list, my S&P, which has everything, the S&P tactical one, which a lot of people have asked me for, and that makes me really happy to know that people are actually trading off that S&P tactical watch list. Um, but I did the most traded list, and there's four things that I am currently watching that I already took positions on, and then there's six other things that I'm looking at possible entries on. So the first one I'm looking at is Merck Pharmaceuticals,
Of course.
of course.
I like that setup.
Yeah, I really, really like Merck here. I have been trading this off the 65-minute chart.
I'll bring that up
I
if you
know
want me
that.
to.
Yeah, if you look at it on the 65-minute, you'll. I know that people are going to be like, "What's the difference between the 65-minute and the 1 hour?" This is just my personal preference because I use the 8 hour chart. But so on this 65-minute chart, the way that it closed on Friday was a little bit
Sketchy.
for me.
Yeah.
It made me a little bit nervous, but this upward momentum that we've had and these bullish crosses that we had on Friday on the 921 EMA, it's just showing me that this is just a little bit of resistance up here. at a key pivot structure at 102.56 that I have. I think you also might have that level as a VRVP shelf uh
Yeah, yeah,
level.
it's close to it. Yeah,
Yeah, there you go. If we can just get above that, it's just a straight rocket to 103.43. And then from there, I have a couple of weekly fib extensions that I use,
hmm
um, which are my pivot structures, but they're based on fibs. I have 104.83, and then I have 106.24. The funny part is that I also do have a daily trend line that it goes all the way back to um, June 24th, and I'm just connecting as many tops as I can. I really would like to get above that 103.96, 97 range, because that would be the break above the trend line,
yeah,
at least my trend line, because I'm
yeah. I have
using
it.
the
Yeah.
wicks as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, got you. Yeah.
Um, and I think that'll go. But I do have time on these contracts. I'm pretty far out. I think I'm in February. Forgive me. I think I might be actually a little bit closer. Jesus, I want to say I need to log into my account, but I'm either in January, end of January or mid-February calls, and I'm in the 105s. I really like this setup. We've been talking about this for a while, but I haven't really taken the time to pick your brain on this. What do you am, am I in too soon?
I saw the same thing as you. I agree that this is really good. Like, it was a really great setup. I mean, it's a great
Yeah,
setup still for shares. I
yeah.
don't think you got in this too early. I think you just had a little bit of an unlucky entry. Because you got in, I'm looking,
Well,
you got in
I
two
was
days
up
ago, right?
20%. I was up 20% on it on
Yeah.
Friday,
Yeah, so you
you
got the
know,
January 17th contracts.
January 17, yeah. And I
Yeah.
filled them at
$1.59.
um, what was my entry?
$1.59.
$1.59.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So, I mean, look, we talked about this last week because Merck had a really great, inverse head and shoulders. Just as you said, you look at the 65-minute, or even on the daily, you can kind of see like the close was okay. I mean, it was still bullish in the end, but the last
yeah.
candle that you got was just kind of, iffy. I do agree with you that, if it breaks and closes above this trend line, that JP is looking at, like, this does have room to the upside. It, I mean, you also, I don't know if you guys saw, but to the spider, there's different sectors, and of course, the health sector has its own ETF, which is the XLV. And if you go over to the XLV, because this kind of ties in with what JP was saying, let me bring that up really quickly. So if you go to the XLV, you could see here on the daily that you kind of had, or even the 2 hour, you kind of had like a double bottom. But you can see, even though it had that, it started coming back, and near close. So this can still change and end up actually bullish on Monday. And Merck is honestly, since Merck is in the XLV, like Merck is probably the better setup compared to other stocks like what is it, like Lilly. I have it right here. Lilly, UNH, J&J. I don't think the other uh, med stocks really have a great setup like Merck, because Merck is very undervalued compared to, like, let's say Johnson and Johnson, because Johnson and Johnson perform better in the year compared to Merck. So yeah, I still like this trade, JP. For me, I think if for it to remain bullish, it's just got to stay above 193. But you had the right, pick for this and the right the sentiment for it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally fine with holding this position. I do like what happened in the after hours trading. Um, it did pick up a little bit of momentum, but that's such low liquidity that it's almost like, what's the
Yeah,
point of getting into
yeah,
it?
yeah.
But I do like what it did in the after hours market. But I am watching most of the healthcare sector, and then I'll get into why I'm doing that after. The next one that I'm in is I'm in Hood. I'm in a lot of Hood shares, man. I'm in a lot of Hood shares. Um, I'm in I own I own, I believe, about $6,500 worth of Hood shares, and my entry is 38.83. I'm up about let's just say 3.5% on this trade. Um, I love the daily setup on it. I have a 450 level here that I think we can break. There is a daily trend line as well. It's to the upside. You would literally have to go all the way back to August 27th, and you can connect two tops. You're probably going to connect a couple more tops than
Wait,
I
you
am.
said it a what? A supporting trend line?
August 27th.
August 27th. So you're talking about a top trend line then?
Yeah, yeah,
This
yeah.
one?
No, no, no. Connect as many tops as you can. Keep rising it. Take it
Oh,
up,
you're
take it up.
saying this.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. That's mine is a little bit different than yours, but this is what
Gotcha.
I'm looking at. I would love to get above that top trend line, break above 42.70, and then my targets are, I mean, they're pretty ridiculous when I go from here. I mean, I have a break above that trend line, which puts me somewhere around the 44 price range and takes me to 46.50. And then from 46.50, 47.50, and then I have basically 49, 50, 50, 99. It just goes up and up and up and up and up. My ultimate price target on this, or before I would even consider trimming, again, this is just me because I really do believe that this company is going to be, one of the most traded in 2025 is $50. I
I
won't even
see through
consider
with you.
trimming until 50.
Yeah. I would see that too. I mean, fib extensions match with it. It's a psych level. And, JP, you've also been seeing it in stocks that are, high volatility, such as Palantir and HIMS. It always tries to reach for those. And Tesla, it tries to reach for those round numbers, where everyone wants to get to because of the whole gamma squeeze and everything. So,
There's
yeah.
also a story. There's a story behind it, and there's two. I always like to use confluences, and Tom Layton, who's my mentor, always says, "Give me three good reasons to be in this company." Right? So here's my three good reasons. Number one, Hood. It's accessible to everyone, and it's the it trading platform for, I hate to say it, but for kids, right? Like the new
Yeah.
generation is all about Robinhood. You can't disagree with me on that.
No,
And
it's
I think that
completely true.
with the amount of new traders that are between the ages of 18 to 21, you know, I don't see any screenshot of any profits that's not on a Robinhood account. Um, Number two, a lot of the proprietary software that's being used right now by companies like E-Trade, which is E-Trade Pro, Morgan Stanley, obviously E-Trade Pro is a little bit more advanced than E-Trade Power. They've been having a lot of issues and they're not looking to upgrade their current platform. So because they're not doing that, I think that there's going to be a lot of traders like myself that are in love with E-Trade Pro and have been using it for 20 years that are going to look to migrate somewhere else. And I think that it's either going to be
Don't say it.
Thinkorswim.
Oh, my God.
What happened?
No. Thinkorswim. Oh, wait. Sorry. Never mind. I thought you said Robin instead of Thinkorswim. My
No,
bad.
I think it's going to be either Thinkorswim or the guys that are actually really good at understanding how trade desk works. They probably switch over there. But what's happening is that Robinhood is going to be acquiring um, a oh God.
What happened? What,
They're,
the
they're gonna
Robin
they're,
Hood?
they're they're acquiring a company. I can't think of the name. Um, well, whatever. What they're basically going to be acquiring this company that has an incredible like day trading, like similar to E-Trade Pro software, and they're going to integrate it into Robinhood, right? So I think that's going to attract a lot of traders to make the switch over to Robinhood, right?
Hmm.
Especially if they can make a desktop platform that's that's day trader friendly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, and I also think that Robinhood, if I'm not mistaken, I think they were gonna look at entering into like wealth management,
I mean,
right?
I'm not surprised since they are trying to get people to put their, like, savings into it because they offer the 4.5% growth or something
Yeah.
on the APY on the accounts. So yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember what the name of the company was that they were gonna what's it called that they were gonna acquire, but they're definitely taking over some type of 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 wealth management company or like professional trading software company. So that's what I'm looking at. The only thing I don't like is that on Friday at 12 o'clock, whatever the name of that show is on CNBC with where they bring all these people like Steve Weiss and Josh Brown on. Everyone was talking about Robinhood and how they love it and it's going to be a pick for 2025. And I'm like, God, no. If CNN is talking about it, it's going to dump. So I'm a little bit concerned about that having a causing a sell off, but Robinhood for sure. The next trade that I'm in right now is XOM.
Yeah.
I like oil. I like oil for 2025. It's gotten beat up. Um, I know there's going to be a lot of people trying to take, you know, cut any oil position out of their portfolio at the end of the year, especially if they're going to implement some tax loss harvesting. And if everybody knows about tax loss harvesting, and if you're talking to like a financial advisor, the first thing they tell you is whatever losses we're taking on this, we're going to redeposit that same amount into this sector because anything that's been beat up for, a year or even more, right? That's down over 10% for the year has a tendency to bounce back. So yeah, I'm very, very, very excited about 2025 for the oil sector. I think that XOM has been doing a very good job of staying above 110. Um, I do like that we are seeing some rotation into the oil sector as of the last couple of days. I do like that we are overextended on the RSI on the daily. It's oversold. And I do think that we could see an opportunity for oil to start to pick up momentum in January and February. I'm already in some calls. I believe that the calls that I'm in are I think I'm in February 115 calls.
Yeah,
So
February 21st,
yeah,
115.
I like XOM. I like the setup on that. And then the other one that I'm in right now is Coca Cola. I I'm just kind of I took Coca Cola twice uh this week. The first trade I took went against me and I had to cut it. And I took it again closer to the end of day for a swing. Um, I really don't know what happened to Coca-Cola right at the end of the day. I it did have a really nice candle at around 10:35, and it did look like it was going to try to bounce right around 150 or close. I'm sorry, 250, close to 3 o'clock. And then it just kind of just dumped on me. But I have time on these calls, so I'm not too worried. Um,
Which contract
I
did you
like
get?
I got March contracts.
Okay.
I have March 65s. I'm sorry, February
Oh,
1st. I have $65 calls, not March. I know it doesn't look great, but this is just another company that's just been slapped this whole year. Um, and Coca-Cola to me looks sexy at $63. It's holding this key pivot that I have. It hasn't broken below it at 62.86, 62.87. And it's bouncing off that $61 range, that like 61.50, 61.70 range. I want to see what happens next week. I'm okay with being in a little bit of pain on this. Um, and
yeah.
if I have to average down a little bit, I will. But I kind of want to be in Coca-Cola going into Santa Claus rally.
I'm completely with you. I was bullish on Coca-Cola as well. I don't know if you guys remember, we got the calls for Coca-Cola, right here near 61 and the initial, push to the upside. And my whole plan with this, and I'll tie into what JP is saying, my whole plan with this was it was supposed to come here, test a level like 63.14 and then bounce off of that. Because 6314 was technically like a very important level because it's a prior resistance, and I was like, okay, if it comes down here and it makes its leg up, I'll definitely get in calls again. But you could see we closed below that, beginning of December. And the good thing is, for JP's calls, for instance, you could see here I circled it on the screen, on the 2 hour chart. I'll go to the 1 hour chart for you guys. Uh, this level is pretty important. You can see anytime, not anytime, but most times we come and tested this, even with a strong bearish candle. We have bounced off of it in the past. We bounced off of it once. We broke past it once. Second time we bounced off of it. Third time we unfortunately, broke through it. So this is really like a make or break kind of level. But even if you look at this, from the daily candles perspective, it's still bullish, right? It's really not bearish in my opinion, until like it makes a lower low, and this hasn't made a lower low yet, right? It's trying to come back up here to this 65 area. So, you know, maybe this is the level where it bounces off of, or it just creeps a little bit lower to like 63, 62.95 and bounces off from that. But I originally wanted to see something like this, just to creep
That's
upwards.
what I want to see.
Yeah, because
You know,
this is a great area for shares. So,
yeah,
yeah.
I know. But the one thing that I'm very adamant about this, which is why I got time on it, I like the weekly. It's a spinning top. It's a bullish spinning top on the weekly. The equal lengths. Yeah, you see what I mean?
Yep.
It's indecisive right now, but I think the Bulls will win here. So not to beat a dead horse here with Coca Cola, but I think it looks good. And then the other stuff that I'm looking at, which unfortunately I feel very stupid for going against my rules on this because I got hit hard. Sentinel One S. This thing just dumped on me. I really like the fact that we held that $24 range back when I was in my trade. Um, and I was green on this trade. I was really green. And I held it and I averaged down and then it just broke down and it was a nasty loss, but thank God I made some of that money back. It's starting to look good for me here at 23. I like it at 23. I would probably take shares on this. I would like to see it hold somewhere above 24, maybe even 24.50, and at that point I'll look for an entry. But I mean, it's a cybersecurity company. They're doing great. They have great contracts. Their earnings were good. It was sold off for some apparent reason that nobody can seem to figure out, and even Deutsche Bank can't figure it out, and those Germans know everything. I like Sentinel One. I like it. I wouldn't mind taking a starter here. What do you think?
Uh, I mean, I like the daily candles. I did bounce off a previous support resistance, and
Yeah.
so yeah, it does look good. I think it just needs a little bit more steam before it makes its move to the upside.
Next one is Affirm.
And we'll make this next ones quick so we can move on to
Yeah,
the ones that
yeah.
people are requesting.
I was telling you 3 days ago that I think Affirm is going to 100. It was bouncing off this 65 level. I didn't fill calls when I wanted to. If it breaks above 72, it's to me, it's gone. It's automatically going to go to 100. I don't know when, but it's going to 100. I would not mind owning shares on this, even at this price right now.
Yeah, I mean, you're seeing a lot of tech stocks like Nvidia, Meta, and Netflix. They're all dying in volatility, meaning they're usually used to moving a lot more. But you're having stocks such as even Coca Cola, but you're having stocks like Coca Cola, Starbucks, not Starbucks, Square, Roblox, Affirm, Hood. You might start seeing those pick up a lot of more volatility compared to the usual stocks that have volatility. So that's why it's good, to have JP's perspective, because he does look at the things that have lower IV, and once those things start moving, they usually end up moving. And then Affirm
Those
and Hood, of
IV
course,
ramps
are
are crazy. Those
uh
ramps on the IV, when they start going, it's just nuts.
yeah, but like Affirm, for example, is an outlier because it is high IV, but
Yeah.
shares wise, I like it. I like Affirm as a long-term hold. Um, I'm for shares just because I want to get like a good entry. I might wait for it to like push above and then come back down because I do
Yeah.
hit it seeing the targets you're looking for. But yeah,
Yeah,
um,
I like this whole buy now, pay later sector. I've been liking it for the past 2 years. At first, I thought it was a scam, but then when I saw a firm gave me a $10,000 credit line, and I could use that and pay for stuff later, I was like, okay, these people are going to be in business. And to be quite frank, um, you know, this whole buy now, pay later stuff, if this consumer credit situation does get to where it's going to get, where I think it's going to go, I think Affirm is actually going to be a winner in that sector. Um, and I'll give you two more, and then we can just move on. Uh,
JP, I think we're gonna move on to
oh, okay.
yeah,
Okay, move on. I just had one more that I think you can look at
yeah,
that I
sure.
would be,
Tell me,
and that's Raytheon.
Raytheon. Okay, yeah, I like that chart.
I mean, listen, there was a big controversy with Lockheed Martin because Trump is canceling that $1 trillion, whatever it was, or 1 billion with Lockheed Martin. I think Raytheon is going to be the one that comes out winning when it comes to the military contracts from the government, and it's set up again nicely on the daily. I'm looking at 120 calls, maybe 2, 3 months out.
Yeah, I mean, I like that falling wedge into. I mean, it's not really a level here; it's more of an area. So I
Yeah.
guess you could call it whatever you want. Area of interest, demand zone. As long as you get the idea that this is an area where you're gonna see buyers step up. Daily candle on Friday was really great. I think if you see a push up on Monday, there's a higher probability that it's gonna break this and try to test its previous. This is all time highs, right? So its previous all time highs. So yeah, I like Raytheon actually.
Yeah, 128 all-time highs. I'd be targeting 120 calls. If I want to feel a little bit frisky, I'll go 125, but that's just a little bit too out of the money for me to feel comfortable.
Yep. And for me, you guys obviously saw there's not much that I'm looking at. There was not too many setups. I like this on Friday. I feel like a lot of things were in a very plateau state. So we'll go very quickly over what I got. You guys obviously saw Disney puts. I mean, I don't need to explain much for this. The daily candle just looks like a death sentence. Will it go down all the way to $100? No, I don't. I don't think it will. Is there a probability? Yeah. But one thing you could see here, I move over to like the 2 hour, you could see, we're below important levels, that we've been holding, the past 2 days before Friday, like 113.85. We're below that. So at least the puts that I got, unfortunately, they were, I think, like 2 or 3 minutes before close that I posted it. Um, we could probably test like 112.24, and then hopefully I could leave runners for a little bit test of the possible double bottom here at 109. Um, if Disney comes down, around this area, where is this like around? Whoops. If it comes around like 103, I personally would not mind buying shares. Kind of. I have to see because last thing I want is Disney turning into a consolidation state where it just stays here for like half a year. So we'll see how it goes. I'll be looking if it, that's the only place I'll be looking to buy shares for my long term. If it comes near 103.12, see how it kind of reacts over there, and then has a nice confirmation, a bounce confirmation off of it. Unfortunately, I was very busy on Friday near close, but I ended up getting one more trade. I got JPM puts. I'm a little bit I'm glad I didn't really post this because this is a little bit riskier than, let's say, the Disney puts. The reason why I got it, just so you guys can keep an eye on it, in case you wanted to take a day trade for it on Monday, or a possible swing trade, Monday into Tuesday, I love, I always like the 30-minute chart. And one thing about me, I like consolidation. So there's a decent amount of consolidation here. Not the prettiest consolidation because we have had bullish candles that end up rejecting, but you are holding a previous 30-minute level, which is 239.55, and we were able to, hold that. And you could see here, anytime it's around this area, there's one and two, two times we've actually been able to push up. So it's a little concerning that we are still here, even though it's did last in this area for ever since Friday open. It's not really Friday. Throughout the entire day, it just was stuck in a range. So I'm looking for it to break above this, but in the off chance it does not break above this, you can easily see it break down to 236.54, and then I don't know if it would really test this gap down here. Um, but that's something to keep an eye on. But that's so yeah, I got JPM calls, not puts. Just to make that clear, I got it because I wanted to see it hold this support. Because if it does hold the support and it does, like, let's say gap up on Monday, or not even gap up, but then open at break even and then push up in the AM after open, I think this has potential to reach 242.50 and then higher marks like 247.84. So that's the whole thing behind JPM. But again, that's all for me because I didn't see much that I really liked on Friday. That's why it took so long for me to post, because I'm like going through my whole watch list and I couldn't really find anything. But yeah, JP, I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna go over the other stocks that people wanted us to look at. We'll go over that for about 20 or 30 minutes or so, and then we'll move on to the whole topic of how we find swing trades, right? So you guys can go ahead, request the stocks you want us to look at in the main chat, and we'll take a look at it. So one question I saw, JP, that I do want you to answer is, it was related to when we were talking to
And the tax loss harvesting one? Yeah.
no.
Oh,
This was actually when you were talking about AVGO, and you were talking about AMD coming down and NVIDIA in a weird spot, right? So someone asked, like, does that mean that AMD and NVIDIA are less attractive stocks for growth versus AVGO? What are your personal brief thoughts on it?
personally, I think Nvidia and AMD are never going to go anywhere. You know what I mean? I just think that there is a bigger problem when it comes to being able to cool down this equipment. You know, it's not that it's sexier and it's not sexy for growth. I think semiconductors will never go away. It's if you're going to trade shares and you're a long-term investor, you don't care if you're buying it at 135, at 140, 150, at 98, at 72, because it's all a matter of you building into the position, right? I just think that I think that there's better opportunities if you're trying to find if I think there's better opportunities in the market if you're looking to invest your money at the current in the current environment. AI is not going anywhere, but I do think that we're going to have a situation with the data centers being able to get enough power, right? Uh, to keep them running at full capacity. I think the overheating situation with these chips is going to, really become a thing. Um, and yeah, I think software is going to be something to look into. It's not that it's not a growth and an opportunity for growth in the future. It's just I believe that there's other stuff out there that you can make more money on.
Yeah, I mean the charts itself for, let's say, AMD, it's not the most prettiest thing. You just have a continuous bearish trend, and one thing you don't want to get in the habit of is trying to try to catch the bottoms and try to catch the tops. That's not what you do for, let's say, a long-term account. It's more finding areas where it shows that there's confirmation of buyers and it's an attractive place to buy. Is this an attractive place to buy AMD? Absolutely. It's a very compared to the past year, it's way lower than where it used to be. It reached all the way to 227. It's already all the way down to 126. And you are at key levels, yes, absolutely. But what exactly is here showing you that this is going to reverse the upside? We're both on Twitter, so we always see those. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys are on Twitter, and you see those posts like, oh, there's a supporting trend line here. There's a one-time, buying opportunity for AMD. Don't miss out. But sure, if you're fine risking that capital, absolutely. But how long have I been studying price? I've been studying price for 11 years now, and yeah, sure, you can say there's a wick to the downside that shows that there's buyers present, but then what else you got? You got nothing. You got an ugly candle on the daily and the weekly. You got nothing here showing you that, hey, this is going to bounce into the upside. And also when it comes to patterns, one thing you have to realize is candlesticks really play a part in it. I see people calling this a double bottom, and yeah, sure, it could be a double bottom, but you have to see something here, and you have to look at this previous daily candle, right? This just shows a huge surge in buyers, and it does not show that buyers were really left behind. So will this really play out as double bottom? Maybe, but would I personally be buying shares here for AMD? I can wait for it. I drew here a while back, or I think like Friday, what I would like to happen for AMD. I personally would like this consolidation, and then I would love to take AMD shares here, because if there's consolidation and there's a little bit of an up creep, meaning there's like miniature higher lows, I think that would be great, and then I could enter into AMD shares and AMD calls. Or the second path, which I wouldn't really desire, is a push up, rejection over here 143.99, and then taking longs back here if it creates a double bottom, or if it breaks above, comes back and retests. But when it comes to AMD, not so attractive. I would personally wait. That's just me. I don't see anything that's making me feel like, oh gosh, I gotta get into this. When it comes to NVIDIA, kind of similar situation. Really, of course, really great company. As JP said, they're not really gonna go anywhere. But where's the chart? Showing you anything? I mean, I see it head and shoulders. I Do I want it to play out? No, I'm not saying that, but I'm just telling you what's on the screen. But there is still hope, because tech stocks, obviously bearish setups don't always last that long. We've clearly seen that. And one thing you could see here on the chart is these two levels here on NVIDIA, 133.95 and 130.50. They're actually previous fib extension levels. I don't remember. I could try drawing it out, but I remember they're like old previous fib extension levels, and it's just, yeah, so it's this one right here. So it was a combination of two old fib extensions, and they kind of line up with where the price is right now. So when it comes to NVIDIA, when it comes to a long-term approach, I am completely fine waiting for it to come down a little bit lower, if it ever comes down. If it doesn't, big whoop, it's okay, I'll miss out. But when it comes to NVIDIA calls for swings, if you guys are interested in that, you could zoom into 2 hour, and do you see anything really pretty? Not really. Friday was a really bearish day. Does that mean that will continue into Monday? Not necessarily, but is there a higher probability of it? Yes, right? Because you had Friday open, 2 hours went by, you could see the candle right here, completely bearish. We lost 139 all the way down to 132, almost $5 to $7 of price gone. And what happened the rest of the day? You guys saw it. Nothing much. It didn't really reclaim much. Yeah, you could say that the last 2 hour candle was a little bit better, but then you look at the previous 2 hour candle, not that pretty, right? So, again, I mean, I've talked about in the past, it's kind of good if NVIDIA creeps down a little bit. You'd really prefer for it to, consolidate a little bit here, and then, move up, similar to what I said with AMD. And the reason I say that is I'm going to show you guys a stock I want you guys to keep an eye on. It's not really a stock, it's kind of an ETF, and it's the RSP. And I don't know why people don't really look at this, but you should. Something to keep on your watch list. What this basically is the equal weight ETF of the S&P 500. And what this does is it categorizes, instead of, like, for example, the S&P 500, I think its heaviest holding is NVIDIA or Apple. I'm pretty sure it's NVIDIA at this point. But like, for example, if NVIDIA and Apple are doing great and the rest of companies are doing bad or just okay, the Nasdaq and the S&P 500 will still do relatively okay or well, right? But you won't really get a gauge of how the market is looking. And this ties into another question that was asked over here, which is, would you go over why SPY is not moving even though Nasdaq is making new highs? The RSP kind of shows you what's exactly happening with the market. What this represents you is, since every single stock that's in the S&P 500, you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right here, is the RSP equal weights them. So, like, it's not like NVIDIA is weighted more than Apple or, like, Home Depot, for example. They're all equally weighted the same. And when you look at the RSP, you can see that the RSP has just been downtrending, the past, how long is this? Since December 2nd. So what does this show you? Well, this shows you that we're just kind of hallucinating here, and what we've been talking about the past 3 weeks is coming into fruition, right? Which is, the rest of the market is actually not really doing the greatest thing. It's just, NVIDIA, Meta, Netflix, all these tech stocks and Tesla, of course, that are doing really well, and Palantir, and what's the other one? Hims. They're taking the spotlight, but when you look at everything in the back end, you can even see in the Twitter posts for those who are on Twitter, a lot of people now, the long-term investment people, they're posting like, oh, this stock is really great to buy at, or it's a great place to buy it. Why do you think it's there? It's because the majority of the market is actually trending downwards. So the reason why the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq is starting to die down in terms of volatility is because majority of the stocks are actually weighing down both of those ETFs. So that's why you're seeing like the question was, why is the SPY not moving even though Nasdaq is making higher highs or like all-time highs, is because Nasdaq is primarily is primarily tech stocks, and tech stocks obviously always make the bigger move. And you could see Meta, Netflix, Tesla, they're just booming. And then clearly Palantir got added on Friday itself into Nasdaq. But then you look at the S&P 500, which has a lot more diversification, health sector, utilities, tech, retail, whatever, all the things are the finance, all these stocks are in the S&P 500, and you kind of see like, hey, wait, the reason why S&P 500 is not moving that much is because there's a lot more companies and a lot more stocks that are trending to the downside. So keep an eye on RSP. This market is relatively quote unquote healthier state when the RSP is bullish. This is a little bit, I would say, in my opinion, you guys can quote me, you could call me wrong, I don't care, but I would say the healthier gauge of the market is looking at the RSP and seeing, hey, is the chart bullish? Because if the chart's bullish, that means majority of the companies are actually in a bullish state, right? And the economy is moving, not economy, but the stock market is moving forward. You could see the places where it was really bullish, like right over here in September, over here in November, over here in July. These were really great bullish spots. But what are you seeing here with December? We only had one. Wow, that's an ugly ass drawing. You only see one place where it's bullish, and then that was mid-November, and then ever since late November, December came, you could see that we've just been a complete downtrend. There's also a stat that I saw recently, which was very interesting. Ties into something that JP said. I'm so sorry I'll get into the stocks you guys were talking about, but I think it's important to talk about. The S&P 500 and majority of the very big stocks end up making really significant rallies towards the end of the year, right? From a fundamentals approach, from a technical approach, majority of stocks like Apple, NVIDIA, AMD, Meta, all these stocks, Netflix, they make end of year rallies. But one thing that was said about the S&P 500, which is, every year there's always an end of year rally, but this is the first time where I unfortunately I can't remember the exact words, but basically what I understood from it was the amount of growth or the amount of increase from the previous all-time high that S&P 500 had compared to the previous years. This year was significantly lower. So what that's basically saying is the steam is kind of dying down. And even though there is a predicted end of year rally, I personally wouldn't be too heavy on it. I would wait for confirmation. But yeah, that's my whole spiel on that. So we'll get into the stocks you guys are talking about. So the first one is Boeing. Of course, we've been talking about this for weeks now. I'm in it, shares wise, and a few put credit spreads as well. Up very decently. You could see we actually, in the announcements, you could see that I posted once I posted the video, I actually posted this chart here, and I said, BA, here's another example of a fib extension. Because one thing I unfortunately forgot to go over in that video, which you guys can check out on our YouTube channel, is I talked about the bullish way you can use fib extensions, but I forgot to show the bearish way. So, you could see here that, the bearish trend is somewhat coming. We can't say it's coming to an end for BA, but it's definitely had a rebound. And Boeing has a chance to actually, creep into the upside. So So I personally entered shares around I think like around the 150 mark, like around 150. So I waited. I wasn't gonna enter down here. It's just too risky. I did get the put credit spreads here, but I want to get a better entry on shares. So I got it around 150. I think I got it on Wednesday itself, and you could see it's just been uptrending ever since. So the question is, okay, what do you do from here if let's say you're not in it? If I was not in this, what I would wait for is, I'd wait for Boeing to kind of come down, test previous important levels. As you can see here, you already have like an area over here, so you don't need to really have levels, but instead just an area of interest to look at. So that would be between 164, 162. Kind of see how the stock reacts there. You would want it. You would want it to create a bounce off of here and continue to the upside because that would be very strong. You've already created a higher high, so that's it's starting to appear a little bit bullish. The last thing you want is for this to create a. I know you guys don't know about ABC waves. The last thing you'd want is for this to create an ABC, which is basically it's a correction wave, which would then mean that similar to what you see over here, right? This is an ABC wave. So the way the Elliott waves really work really quickly, I'm not going to go too into this because we have a lot of stocks to go over, is so you could see the impulse waves it has 5 waves. This is how it would look, right? And between the correction waves, which is when price goes against the current trend, you would get an ABC wave. And you could kind of see here, let me move this drawing. You could kind of see here in this time span of Boeing, you could draw whichever way you want, but you could see here, A, B, right? And C. And then after that, we continue the trend to the downside. So you don't want the B wave, you don't want this creeping down lower, because if it creeps lower and it creates a higher low, yes, that's great, but then there's a higher chance that Boeing's going to continue to the downside at a later point. So that's why me personally, I would like to see how Boeing reacts with this. Why can't I delete this? React with this area. I would say 164, 158. It's a very important area for Boeing. If you want to be more passive, you could shorten that range to 161.68 to 158.19. I know JP went on a walk. JP, you have any quick thoughts about Boeing? I guess he's not back. Okay. So let's see. The next one is ARM. Whoops, I typed that in the chat instead. So ARM, jeez. I've not traded this stock as much, but I do like this. I did look at it recently. You could clearly see there's a pennant here, right? A pennant. Looks bullish, in my opinion. You are technically breaking out of it. An easy way to trade pennants, in my experience, is when you break above the trend line, come back and retest it, or retest the level that it broke above, and try to enter off of a bounce, right? So that's what I personally would be waiting for ARM. You could see here Friday's close wasn't the most beautiful close. It kind of have like a rejection candle. If I extend over here, you can see that. Let me adjust this trend line. So
heavily institutionally held.
Yeah, for ARM, right?
Yep, and we got a buy alert from the institutional signals that they were long at one. Oh, I can even tell you the level. Because it's important, because I'm curious if that level that you're looking at is institutional buy signal came in at, oh wow, 138.
138. Oh, so they they got it all the way down here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I mean, at this point, I think I've traded ARM once before.
Mm-hmm.
The options move pretty good. I would say it's more of a swing stock than day trading stock. So, just eyeballing it here, the levels I'll be looking at is we're already testing the 150, 157. So the level I guess I'll be looking at here is just around 147.33. Kind of see how it reacts to that. If it comes here and it bounces off of this, I personally would like to get into shares or calls. So actually, I'm gonna add this onto my swings watch list. But yeah, let's move on from ARM. We're gonna move on to. We already talked about Affirm, so we're gonna skip that. Let me see what else. AMD we talked about as well. Palantir. Oh, let's see. So JP, what's your thoughts on Palantir? He's got added to the Nasdaq. It's already in the S&P 500. Got added to Nasdaq on Friday after market close. What are your thoughts?
So did MicroStrategies, right?
Yeah. No, wait. No. SMCI got removed. You guys could correct me if I'm wrong. SMCI got removed, and then yeah, MicroStrategy MSTR got added on Friday as well.
Um, Palantir is going to be $1,000 company. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, you think so?
There's no stopping this. Great technology. The things that if you read about the stuff that they're doing,
Mm-hmm.
it's 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 scary. I mean it's scary. They got like machine learning stuff that can predict stuff that you have no idea. Um, love the company. I can't own it. I had it at they gave it to us at 17. I can't. I can't.
Well, I'm gonna be a douche here and say that I got a fill at 686, and I've been holding it ever. Nah, actually, I did exit all of my position, unfortunately, at 72, around $72. So, um,
Just can't. I can't. Listen, call me crazy. Maybe I'm one of those nuts, but I just can't. It, I can't get in. I can't. I can't. I need a massive pullback. Like I need some type of criminal charge against this guy, and the stock goes to 40, and then I'll buy it. But
no,
it,
no, not that low. No, that would be unhealthy. But I get what you're saying. Since you missed the opportunity, I guess you wanted to pull back lower, so
it's
you
an
get
up
the
and to the right
redemption.
chart. It's not
Yeah,
going up. Up and to the right.
yeah. I think Palantir is bullish. That's just the truth to it. It's reached its fib extension level. So whether it breaks past this or not, clearly eventually, you can say it will. I think for this stock to be healthy, because of course I like getting into healthy stocks, I would prefer it to make a little bit more downside. So something like this, because if it does like if it creates a little bit of a retracement here, a great place I would think to buy if it shows a little confirmation for a hold is around 65 to $64. This would be a great ad, and then you could try to move the carry. Oh my God, you could try
You all right
to.
there, buddy?
Yeah,
You
I
need
know.
CPR or something?
No, I know. But you could try to ride this move to the upside. I personally, yes, the Friday candle close is really great. That is bullish. I personally did not get in it. I had shares. I got 685 as my fill. Held it all the way to $72, so I did great on that. But I've not gotten into calls since. I'd rather wait for a retracement because the last thing I want to do is, even though there's a great setup, I don't want to be getting into calls at an overvalued area and then getting stuck with it, dumping all the way down in a scenario like this where it came down, what is this, 5% in one day. Not saying that's going to happen, but I don't want to be in a situation like that. But overall, I'm bullish on Palantir. I'd like to wait to see if it tests, 64.80 to $65. If it holds that, I'd love to get shares and I'd love to get calls as well. Um, let's see. Okay, let's move on to the next one. ARM, Palantir. What else? So many messages. Okay, CRM. There we go. CRM, Salesforce. Anything you want to say about
I
this,
know.
JP?
Yeah. So is it Salesforce? I don't know why I said service now. What's wrong with it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bullish chart. You could see it's already created its trend. Um, it's got more room up. I think it wants to make a little bit more retracement. A great place to see how it holds is around 348, 686. Kind of held there before, but you could see the candles afterwards. On the daily chart, were not really significantly strong, right? They had ugly wicks to the upside, ugly body candles, candle bodies, and then Friday was just a very bearish close. So one thing I guess you could look at for it to hold is coming down here and then creating a possible double bottom on the 2 hour, that would be a great hold. But I think the healthiest thing, if you guys are looking for a better call entry or a better share entry, is if you actually test this general area here for Salesforce, or at least above it. So that's between, what is this, 331.43 to 336. Because if you retrace a little bit lower, just for any stock, if you trace a little lower, still bounce off of a valid area, the move is going to be a lot more significant theoretically compared to just a quick bounce that you get here. So I would love to see Salesforce come around this area. Let me just highlight this area so you guys could see it. 337.06 to 331.22, kind of see how it reacts to that, because it's already created, as you guys can see, it's already created a higher high and a consecutive higher lows. So CRM is a great chart. I would personally like to get into shares, if it tests this area and it bounces off of it. The next one is Snow. We've actually been asked this quite a few times. Again, I'm bullish long term on Snow. I think it just has to retrace a little bit. It's coming to a level that I talked about last Saturday and the Saturday before that, which is 162.37. That's personally where I'd like to see a bounce off of, or a confirmation of a hold. Because if it does, I would love to get into shares. I personally think it's a great stock for holding shares for. If you go to the weekly chart, we can see, it's been having the downtrend, and it's more of a consolidation. Then it finally created a higher low, on the weekly chart. So it's turning bullish. It's finally created a higher high compared to a previous high. It's now just got to get above this area of 235. I don't think it will do that immediately, but I think it eventually will do it. And I will be looking for shares at 162.37. Again, I'm going to wait for a confirmation on it before, instead of just blindly getting into it. Anything you want to say about Snow, JP? Or
Nope, nothing on my end.
Okay. Let's see. Which other one? Roku. Anything you want to say about Roku? Because I know last time I think you did. JP?
I'm a little bit hesitant on Roku at these levels. I want to see it come back down to, I believe the level that I had was 80 something. Let me just confirm, because I got to put on my glasses. Actually, $80. I want to see it at $80. And then I would like to go long. I love the bullish setup on the daily. I think it's going to go for 87 quite easily, but I would like it to come back down to 80 for me to buy shares.
Yep. I have the same thesis as you. If you guys remember, I took on Thursday, I believe, I took Roku puts. So on Friday, obviously Roku opened up. It was bearish at first, and then afterwards it was just a complete. It was like a range, right? Creeped lower, but didn't really. The contracts didn't end up really doing well, and I unfortunately got out of a majority of my position. The max profit I got was 15%, which was unfortunate because Sorry, I had to take a drink of water. Because what I wanted to see originally, let me see if I can find Thursday. So this was Thursday right here. And if I show the replay candle on this, it was a very bearish setup. So I wanted it to come all the way down to 79.91. That would have been an area where I've also would have looked for shares. So this would have been a great, like, hey, I'm going to trade it down to here and then eventually get into shares or calls once it bounces off of that. But you could see, AVGO had its earnings. AVGO doesn't really directly impact a stock like Roku, but there was a little bit of there was the downtrend in the morning for Roku on Friday, but it just could not hold. Unfortunately, now fortunately and unfortunately, it is looking bullish now. Again, I'm still not personally going to get into shares until it comes to a level, near where JP said, which is around $80. I personally have 79.91. Because if we move over to weekly chart, it's one of those stocks, that's had just a lot of consolidation the past year or two. I think it's actually 2 years. And you're finally above a level. The weekly candle, by the way, on Friday finally closed above this level of 80.77. and that's pretty bullish. So we'll see how this goes, heading into next week. My bias was, waiting for it to come down to 79.91 and seeing it bounce above that. But we didn't get that move. We only unfortunately got 15%. But if this starts moving, which I think it will, and I will try to get into shares soon. I think this sees eventually
98,
like 112. What'd you say?
98.54.
Yeah, 98. Yep. Yeah. So that's what I'm thinking for Roku here. The next one, we'll do a few more and then we'll move on to the topic of the how we find swing trades, because we're breaching on an hour for this topic. Let's see. Talked about that. Talked about that. Okay, so we'll do stocks that are considered important. We'll do Walmart. Oh wait, no, this is waste management. Sorry.
Ooh,
This
WM.
it,
Ooh, who's talking about that?
of course, you pique the old guy's interest over here.
That's my company, man. That's my company.
Yeah. Um,
Love waste management. Love it. I
it,
have it charted out completely.
yeah, I mean, it's a great stock. Share wise, I mean, you could go to a weekly, you could just see how it's done growth. It's just a really great stock. You could say it rallies, has consolidation, and rallies, over time and time again. And moving into the daily time frame, the level I'm personally looking at is the 212.01 or just around that area. And you can see here, let me actually just as you can see here that on Friday it tested it and it's kind of bouncing off of it. So this technically for me, and then I'll let JP put his input because I know he's eager to pull on the trigger over there. But I would have personally, I would have liked to see the wick. I don't like the fact that it kind of breached a little bit down near the end of Friday close. But this is actually something good for long term. I will be keeping an eye on it, so thank you for bringing it up. I'll see you on Monday, especially if it comes down and tests this and it bounces off of it. I think this would be a great personal ad for shares on my long term. JP.
Uh, Waste management is one of those stocks that trades perfectly off the 8-hour chart. I can give whoever was talking about that, I can give you the levels that it needs to go to and where it's gonna bounce because it's just technically there. Institutionally held stock, by the way. Um, I think we're gonna come down to 208.87, fill that gap. I would like to see that happen. If not, if on Monday or throughout that week we hold 212.16, that's the level that I have. If we can stay above that, I would look at entering 220 calls. Um, and my upside targets on that are very simple. From 212, there's nothing stopping you from going to 216. After that, it goes to 219.67. After that, it goes to 221.61 and then 224.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, it has a great chart. You could see, even the bull flags end up working out.
It's
Um,
gonna hold above $200. So if
mhm.
you're a share buyer and you're buying it here and it pulls down, it pushes down, you just keep buying the dip. Love the company. Great company.
The next stock is JP's favorite, or used to be his favorite, Oxy. Um,
Still love it.
yeah,
It's ugly. She's ugly.
it is ugly. Yeah, not a
She's
really
ugly.
great chart. I mean,
Do
XOM
not,
does personally look a little bit better than Oxy.
yeah. I do not want to go on a date with Oxy.
Yeah.
Nope.
Um, we've already broken below very important levels, like such as around 49.33. At this point, I had Oxy shares, and I think I got them on this weekly candle, and I was like, this is a really great weekly candle close. I expected to break above this trend line, but it just never did. Things happen. So I closed out of that position. I'd rather just wait for it to come down, test around $41, $42, see how it reacts to that, or $43. If it bounces off of there, then yes, I would like to take Oxy, longs and calls, but right now I'm not even trading options on it. It's just not, it's personally for me, it's not worth it. So I'd rather just wait to get a better entry on this. Okay. Next one actually is another one of JP's favorites, Celsius.
It's a horrible company. I despise it like cancer.
Um, I mean, I don't blame him for that. Celsius is one of those stocks where it was looking really great. It started giving those signals like, hey, we're finally going to break out of this downtrend all the way back
Yeah.
in October, early October, mid October. And then after that, the bull flags just did not work out. Um, at this point, you could see a difference when retail traders and institutions are involved. When both are involved, you can see there's always going to be a lot more gap ups. But when it's more institutional buyers, you could see it's a lot more smoother and you could say calmer, right? So what you can infer from this is majority of retail traders are out. At this point, you will probably start seeing a lot more institutional buyers involved. Does that mean it'll go up? No, it does not. But what that means is eventually there will be probably an entry point for Celsius for from a long-term approach. Uh, when it comes to options on Celsius, the options are really great. If you guys remember in October, we caught the calls for Celsius on from Wednesday to Thursday, and these went like 800 to 900%. It's a very high IV stock. I personally sell puts for this. I sell like the $23 strike and the $26 strike for Celsius. I don't think it's gonna go below those levels, but it's a high IV stock, so swinging calls on this I personally would do it when you know there's confirmation for it to continue into the upside. But when it comes to shares, I personally would wait for it to give a little bit more confirmation. It just got above 29.49. You could see here the there's like no real gap ups or insane gap ups or gap downs. So this shows that institutional buyers are buying up here right now. So what probably could happen is you could see a little up creep, come down, and then a bounce off a level that's valid, and then this would be the real run that you would want to catch. Um, what I personally would like is for it to just consolidate here a little bit and try to create those higher lows, those miniature ones, and then if it does that and eventually gets above, let's say a level like 35.18 or just above this 35.60 level, then it gets above that, comes and bounces off this would I feel would be like a rally, similar to what we're seeing here on stocks such as Square, Roblox, Affirm, what else? PayPal, Zoom. That would be great for Celsius. So this is what I would want for Celsius. High IV stock. I'll be really careful on options. But shares, I would personally be a little bit patient with the entry, but I think eventually it will show one. But yeah. Um, we went over Snow. Adobe, JP, since you're old, you might have a little bit of input on Adobe. Any thoughts on
Don't trade
Adobe?
it. Don't trade it. I don't trade it.
Yeah, I mean Adobe. It was funny. I was sitting here I think on Friday, and I was thinking, I mean, how is Adobe? How did it reach like $600? Like I get it, the Premiere Pro applications, all that, but does it really justify the price? I might be wrong. I'm not a huge fundamental analysis guy, but I mean the chart itself, like it used to be a great swing trading stock for options. Not so much anymore. A lot of setups get invalidated. Not many gap ups or gap downs except for earnings, as you guys can see here. So it doesn't really always play out to the extent that it could. It is picking up a lot more volatility than before, especially with it beat in revenue, I believe. Yeah, it beat in earnings, in revenue as well, but it's just down from its 540 mark. Um, Long-term approach, you go to a weekly chart. This isn't what you consider really beautiful. You could say you're testing another supporting trend line. Whoops, that's the wrong thing. You could say it's testing a support trend line, but again, as I said, just because something's testing a trend line does not mean it's going to bounce off of it. In fact, you kind of reach below it. So there's no confirmation for me to get into shares. I don't want to hate on Adobe. I don't want to hate on any companies in general, but I think this comes down to 380, and that's probably where I would possibly get into shares. Okay, so we're gonna do Amazon, Google, and maybe one more stock, and that's it. So we're gonna go into Amazon. JP, your thoughts on Amazon?
It already did what it had to do for me. I think we were gonna have a pullback on it. It's one of those companies that I think they're gonna be a lot of profit taking uh come January. I don't like it up here.
Gotcha. I mean, yeah, personally, do as same for me. I would love to get into shares when it once it comes down and tests its previous all-time high, which is 215.90. Kind of see its reaction off of there. You can kind of see a pattern here. A majority of the stocks that we've been reviewing that you guys are talking about, you could see like they've already tested all-time highs, or they're pretty high, and they're not like necessarily buy here kind of moment. Which ties into what I was saying earlier with the S&P 500 and the RSP. You could see a lot of things are not really showing quote unquote buying opportunities. They're more like, okay, I got to be more patient with this, or I got to get in now, and I just got to be okay with some red that I might face. So you could see the pattern that we're seeing here. But I would like to see a test of 215.90, see how it reacts to that. I would love to get calls around this range if I see a bounce here on like the 2 hour or the 1 hour, and then possibly shares here. So if you see a bounce off of this on the daily, but that's that. Amazon, you could see the fib extension level is 227.90, which I already touched. It's kind of retracing from that or rejecting that. 235 would be next, and if it breaks above both of these two, then you would expect it to go to 260. But I think there's a little retracement inbound for Amazon before it makes some newer all-time highs. Google, JP, anything you want to say about that?
We missed it.
I mean, I personally was in shares, but I did not hold it all the way up to the
That
extent of
new
the red.
the quantum computing news was just
Yeah,
all I needed. And you know what's funny? We were talking in length to Leighton about this when we were like, dude, this is a sleeper. It's not overheld by any institutional trader right now. Remember, it was underweight.
correct.
Um, and this we had it at what was it? 140, I think we had it at one point.
I don't remember. I do know.
138, I think we had it.
I don't know.
We had
I
it.
just know I
We had
bought
it.
it. I bought it around. I bought my shares around 160, and then I sold when it came up to like 170 or 180.
I think we were giving a signal at around 148, 149. I didn't take it. And now it's just a beautiful chart. I love it. I think it comes down a little bit, and then it just does like a little bit of a bull flag, and then just goes. It's gonna go to 200. That's easy. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah, I mean, it created all-time highs on one Wednesday. You could clear it. We got the Google puts on Friday, if you guys remember. Reason I got it is because what's it called? It retraced and it just looked really bullish on the 30-minute when I was looking at it. Those puts went up, almost, uh, I think like 120 or 180%. So there's that. But I think it retraces to its 185 or 181 level, kind of bounces off of there. That would be like a perfect level to get some shares. That would be a good retracement, bounce off of previous resistance actually. Another level to look at is 185.49 because if you guys don't know, once price breaks above a fib extension level, that fib extension level is theoretically now a support. So I'd watch between these two levels for Google, see how it kind of uh, reacts with those two. So last thing we're gonna go over, last two, and we're gonna breeze over this, and then we're gonna go into the swing topic, is Peloton.
Oof.
Uh, I'm bullish on this. My sentiment is not gonna change. I love the weekly chart. We're breaking above this. We got above important levels, which is 848 and 666, which was a while ago. Um, it is due for a little bit of a retracement. That's why I personally would like to add on to more shares. I got into this. I got into this around like 320, and then again at $5.80. So I'm not into penny stocks, and this is theoretically a penny stock. But Peloton is a good. I think it's a good company. Let me put it like that. And I do like its chart.
I
I've liked
agree.
Peloton for years now, and it's finally making the move that I like.
Why? Why do you
Why?
like this? I mean, what do
Have you
you
seen their
see?
ads? They're
Uh,
everywhere.
yeah, but I mean, it's a bicycle with an iPad on it, dude.
It's a bicycle on an iPad where people can make jokes about what their real name is, and then the announcers call them out.
Yeah,
But I
I
mean,
mean, really, like, do you think? What do you think? This thing goes back to 20?
I think this is like big brain approach, and again, I'm never an advocate of thinking big brain because then your expectation goes too high. But I think with the implementation of more buy now and pay later services, things that were expensive in the past, since a lot of people are going broke
Really?
now. Yeah, I think a lot of people are going broke. All I can say is a lot of people, I mean, look at NFL players, look at NBA players. When people go from being rich to having the idea that they can buy something expensive, they go ham. And Peloton devices are like they're expensive. So, I mean, the chart's there to support it. I don't think right now is a great entry. I'm by any means, I'm not buying over here. Any position, I'd rather let it run up, come down, retest, and then enter again. But I think in the long term, I would like it to see. I'll show you where exactly I was looking at. Let me delete everything here. But
I think I know what your price target on this is if it can break this level. Your bigger price target, not your little price target. Bigger price target is $16, isn't it?
yeah, it's around 30. It's around $14 to $16. I think it could really squeeze there. Um, yeah, I mean, I started trading with penny stocks, but you know, there's a difference between penny stocks and stocks that are a good company that just have completely been duped on, and that's Peloton. Um, I'm not a huge fundamental analysis guy, but I do like its chart. And you
You're a
guys
big
remember, huh?
or whatever you want to call it. Is that an ascending channel or a megaphone, whatever you want to call it?
Right here?
I'll show you. If you connect July 18th and connect as many tops as you can, and then connect the bottom of August 14 and connect as many bottoms as you can.
Yeah, I mean, you could kind of say it is. I mean,
Do you see what I'm talking about? Yeah,
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Kind of like an ascending megaphone, whatever the hell it's called.
Yeah, it's you could call naked megaphone, whatever. I mean, we both know because I suck at names, unfortunately. I just know what they do. But you can see here, and I'm glad you brought this up. When you have stocks that just completely skyrocket, the volatility does increase. And if you guys remember, we got Peloton calls. Those by the way, the leaps that we got, they're over. They reached 12,000% from when we entered around $3. That's when we entered the leaps for Peloton. They're up massively. I think I only have like one contract left, but the volatility is high, so that's where the risk comes in. Because as you can see here in the megaphone that JP pointed out, easily come test this, easily can break above. So I would be patient on this. I'm bullish on it overall, but I'm still going to be patient on this. I got the great fills on it. I'm going to hold it. I trimmed some of my position. I'm only in runners, but I would like to add more once we come into valid levels for me to get into it. But that's me and Peloton. Another stock I've never heard of before is ARCH.
This
Um,
is something that everybody's been talking about. I don't know what the
really,
hell it is. It's like
you
an air. I think it's an airplane thing or something like
you
that.
don't
I
know
don't know
it?
what. Dude, everybody's been talking about it. I don't pay attention to this kind of crap, and then I
Apparently,
regret it.
apparently it has government contracts.
Yeah, but what do they do?
Uh, it is energy, minerals, and coal.
Oh, I thought it was an airplane company. Isn't there an airplane company that's also like everyone's trading? I
Gauges
don't
in
know
the
what.
production and distribution of thermal coal that operates through the following segment. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so thermal coal. I didn't know there's such thing as thermal coal, but yeah. Um, well, so I mean it's bullish, but
I know nothing about this company. I can't give my opinion on it.
yeah, for sure. I mean, then I'll just go off the chart itself. I mean, if you go to the weekly, you'll see the level to look at right now is around the 152.75 area. Uh, and again, the reason why I say area is we talked about before. You always want to look at levels as an area of interest, never at a pinpoint place, because you always want to give room for error. Because there's always a million levels on a chart. But apparently, oh wow, a bunch of people are. Yeah, you could go over the stuff in main chat because a few people talked about it. But and then you could talk about it afterwards. But basically, the level to look at is around 152.75. So weekly level, prior resistance. You could see we've repeatedly held above it multiple times on ARCH. Again, unfortunately, I wish I knew about this because I don't know. But you know, we're back above it. We've broken above. We retraced below. We broke above it. That's bullish. Now, for it to remain bullish, we would want ARCH to hold this level, which it tried doing the past 4 days, which is good. But you would want to see a little bit of an up creep. If it doesn't get an up creep, I think it kind of technically filled the small little gap it had over here. You would want to see a little bit more consolidation before it continues to the upside. But in terms of long-term approach, the chart is good. Now all it needs to do is just hold above this 152.75 area, and that would be great. So sorry, I'll talk what you guys are talking about. So apparently it does drones, engages in development of electrical vertical takeoff and landing. Oh, VTOL jets. Okay. The company was founded by Brett and it's headquartered in San Jose, California.
Oh, it's in San Jose. I'm not trading it.
Yeah, so it is. Oh wait, I'm so dumb. Are you guys talking about AC? So I'm retarded. We're gonna go over to the right chart over here. The daily chart looks amazing on this stock compared to the other one. Completely apologize for that. Thank you for tagging me. So the weekly chart, you go over to this. You know, I can't believe it did that. You're holding above important weekly levels. It held above it this past week, 694. This is a penny stock, but again, you know, if a penny stock does have validation for a good, you know, company, uh, you know, we'll see how it goes. Do you guys have more information on this in terms of the, what's it called? The government contracts? But you guys already know the stuff that's going around in the world. It does not seem like war production or anything related to that is going to decrease, unfortunately. Especially you could see the way Biden's taking things in terms of rising up conflicts, and then everything going on in Syria, Gaza, Russia, Ukraine. These conflicts are rising up. So if you want to take it in that approach, I mean, the daily candle looks great. That's pretty bullish. It held above on Thursday. It held above 694. So your next question would be, okay, where would you see this go to? You can see its IPO. It's already rejected the level of the low of near its IPO, right, which is 973. So if it gets above 973, this could be really great. Right now itself, if you're asking me, based on my risk tolerance, if I would buy it, let's say tomorrow I do a little bit more research on the stock. I'm like, okay, yeah, this is great. I would definitely buy it. If I just saw this right now, I would buy it. With me, okay, it's nothing against this stock. It's just with me, with penny stocks, I always like take a double look at it just because you never know. Because you never want to just be stuck in something that's not worth it. But ARCH, especially since it's, of course, Cathie Wood added it. What's new? So yeah, if Cathie Wood adds it, I guess it's definitely something I need to take a look at. But yeah, I mean, if it comes to long-term growth, I think this could be something definitely to look at. The safer approach, if you want to take a safe approach, that would be breaking above 973, waiting for it to retest an important level, or some consolidation, and then entering off of that. But the areas I would look at to really go with the stock, let's see, is of course all-time highs, which is which is $19, and this is the last thing we're gonna go over. But I would see this is 1046. We already tested 973 or 965. But a break above that, I think if it breaks above 973 or 965 over here, this is shoot past 1046. I think the next level you'd really look at is 1305 and then 1725. So yeah, this is a bullish stock on the chart wise. JP, I know usually you do. Did you do any research on it? Any thoughts on it?
No, because I've been I don't know anything about it, but there is, if anyone wants to trade, again, depends on what you're doing this. If you're trying to trade it like as like I just want to catch the move, but if you're actually interested in the technology, for drones, there's a company called Kratos, KTOS, that I would prefer to look at that if you're into that kind of space over this. I don't know anything about this company. Honestly, it sounds like Aerotime Aviation from The Wolf of Wall Street. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it only reason why we're just a little bit, cautious, because things with hype, you just want to be a little bit careful with.
Why is it
Uh,
up?
huh?
Why is it up?
What?
Why is it up?
Because of government contracts, apparently. And Cathie would added it. But hey, most government contracts are stable. I mean, I do like the chart, that's for sure. I do like the chart a lot. You got higher highs, and I love that daily candle on Friday that we got on Friday. So, hey, I mean, I'll definitely look to add this on my long term. That's for sure. I'm just not gonna go full sizing on it, just because you never know. Because you want it once it breaks above. Okay, here, let me get my final thing on this, and we'll move on to the next topic. Once it breaks above 965 or 973, and it holds above it, meaning it breaks above, comes back, retests it, and then bounces above it, then I'll be bullish. Or if it just goes right past it, then I'll be definitely stronger on it. So Monday, I'll definitely see if I want to add a light position on ACHR and see how that goes, because I really like that daily chart. It's bouncing off of levels I like. So yeah, thanks for bringing it up, guys.